Shaq recently spoke out about how he believes he could have won 3 championships with Tracy McGrady instead of Kobe Bryant. I'm going to read out the quote. So here goes. Let me go on the record and say T Mac was a bad motherfucker. Yeah, but see, you got to understand when T Mac out there by himself, he don't really have room to operate. Our guy had room to operate because I got 3 people on me. T Mac, double, triple, quadruple team. Kenny Smith said this all the time. Kobe didn't get double, triple teamed a lot. He was free to roam around and do all the stuff. So what T-Mac said, I believe to be true because T-Mac was a bad boy. I always told the stories about how I let certain players just go. And with T-Mac and Kobe play, I'm not doubling. Phil Jackson said to double, and I'm like, nah, fuck that. Guard him. Kobe, guard him. I want to see it. I'm not showing on the pick and roll so he can embarrass me. So what he said was correct. The only way you can differ them is from championships. That's it. T Mac was long, great one-on-one, can score, but he ain't really have enough room to operate. So I agree with what T Mac said. Probably got a lot of flack, but I always say to myself, I could have gotten 3 in a row with T Mac. I think I could have gotten 2 with Vince Carter. I know I would have gotten 6 with Steph Curry. Yeah, so there's a few things I like to say about this. I've always felt that Shaq, with his deference to Kobe, was being fake all these years because he never liked Kobe and Kobe never liked him. It was always a business relationship. I don't care what those two were saying. You post retirement when both of them were retired by each other. I think just both of them had decided to make peace and to stop beefing with each other once their careers were over because they didn't want to keep on reliving the drama, but neither had love for each other. If we're being honest, Kobe always felt in his mind that Shaq held him back from having even a greater legacy because if he started out his career without having Shaq, he could have been the man earlier in his career and achieved more. He definitely believed that. He was delusional in that regard because I think Shaq is definitely a huge reason why he was able to pad his ring count. If we're being honest, I don't think Kobe would have ever won 5 rings without Shaq. I just don't see it happening. I think just playing with Shaq paved the way for him to win even future championships after Shaq was gone because he got to have that experience, courtesy of being Shaq's sidekick of what it took to be a champion. So I thought he was delusional about that. And Shaq, I think Shaq was always always being fake about, like I said, about his love for Kobe because I it's no secret Shaq hated playing with this guy. And I think most people hated playing with Kobe. I'm just going to be honest and keep it 100. None of those guys loved playing with him. Shaq didn't like him. And Shaq would speak out against him for years up until I would say up until the early 2010s where he basically knew he had to squash whatever beef he had with Kobe because at first they had squashed it back in, I think, what was it? 08, 07, something like that. And I didn't think even that was genuine in my eyes because I think Shaq only squashed it because he didn't think Kobe could win. But once Kobe got Gasol, he made that rap about Kobe when Kobe lost in 08 to the Celtics, about how Kobe couldn't win without him and all this other stuff. So it was always this personal thing going on. But then he had to end it during the 2010s because he wanted to be loved by the Laker Nation. He knew he could not live in the city of LA without giving deference to Kobe, without giving Kobe, his flowers, without worshiping Kobe. There's no way the city of LA would ever accept him back. So he had to do it begrudgingly, and he did. But I never thought it was genuine. I just never believed it to be so. And this really proves it, what Shaq said. And I actually don't disagree with Shaq. I've said this for years that you could have paired any dynamic perimeter player, explosive perimeter player with Shaq during his prime, and he probably still has the same success during the early 2000s in which he three-peated or he comes close to it if you switch T-Mac in Kobe's place, yeah, I think the Lakers probably had the same amount of success. T-Mac actually was a better scorer than Kobe during the early 2000s. If you look at it, like during the 2002 2003 season, he actually led the league in scoring with 32.1 points per game on 45% shooting overall from the field, 38 from three. The biggest hang up in T Mac's career, I would say, was his body was not able to hold up for that long due to the physical play he had to deal with when he first came into the league during the late 90s and up until through like the mid to late 2000s. Like, he took a toll. Like, I remember watching a lot of those Orlando Magic games where he got roughed up a lot, got a lot of hard fouls that today would have been called flagrant twos, would have gotten people ejected, and that took a toll on his body. And I felt that shortened his career by a huge margin. So he just didn't have the durability while Kobe had the durability over him. I think that was the biggest thing separating those two, being honest. But if he got to play with Shaq, yeah, he's still gonna have the. I think he still would win titles. Shaq, that is, with T Mac, because Tracy was really neck and neck with Kobe for like the early 2000s. I would say up until probably after 2004. That's really when I feel things probably changed for both of them. If we're being honest, let me just look at their stats. Yeah, I would say that they were neck and neck all the way up until 2005. And then after 2005, Kobe just takes off again, and Tracy's career just falls completely apart after 2005. That to me is like the turning point where Kobe just leapfrogged T Mac, and that's when T Mac fell apart. But yeah, definitely Shaq would have won still multiple titles with Tracy McGrady if you switch places, because you got factor in Shaq got doubled and triple teamed. Tracy McGrady was a better scorer than Kobe in the earlier part of his career, so he would have definitely been able to fill in and just and excel in that role. So, yeah, I don't believe what Shaq is saying is hearsay. I believe you could put Vince Carter also in that situation, and Vince would have excelled also. Vince was super athletic. He was a great scorer in his own right, and he would have benefited from the double and triple teams that Shaq generated. There's just no doubt in my mind that he would have been great in that role. And I think they would have probably may have had even more success pairing up with Shaq than Kobe did, because I think Vince and T-Mac would have been more likely to defer to Shaq and allow Shaq to be the man. They didn't really have the ego that Kobe had. Kobe had the ego that was the size of, I don't know, the galaxy. I won't even say the size of a mountain, that he really did not want to defer to Shaq, and he resisted it. But I don't think those guys would. So they might have been able to sneak in another title besides 3 if they played together. That's definitely a possibility. Heck, like, I think I'll throw in another guy in there that Shaq could have won multiple titles with instead of Kobe. Ray Allen. Can you imagine Shaq getting double, triple teamed, and how many open threes Ray Allen would have had? That would have been just absurd. So I don't think anything Shaq is saying is untruthful, at least in my eyes. I definitely agree with him that Kobe was definitely privileged to play with a top 10 player in his prime at the start of his career, and he definitely took advantage of it. He was able to get those 3 titles as a sidekick. But one thing that always amazed me about Kobe was just how inefficient he was, even with his shooting when playing with Shaq. Like, he was open so many times, but he took so many bad shots. You just look at his field goal percentages during the 3P years. He shot 46 overall from the field, and just from 3, he shot around like low 30s. Not great for a guy, people say is a much better shooter than Michael during that time period. And you're just thinking, like, this guy, I know the defense was great during that time period, but at the same time, you're playing with Shaq, who's getting double and triple team. You should be shooting 50 or above from the field. And because a lot of times Kobe just had one-on-one coverage, but he just took stupid shots. So that really shows you what a privilege he had playing with Shaq. Shaq could clean up nights when he was super inefficient. And man, I think we were lucky to some degree Shaq did not get to play with a guy who was more efficient than Kobe. It might have been hard to beat the Lakers, So Granted, they did three-peat with Kobe, but I'm thinking like beyond three-peating. If you had a guy like Tracy McGrady, maybe they get to extend winning another title by a year or two. You just never know. So Shaq definitely has a legit argument to that. I know that pisses off people, but I actually agree with Shaq. Like, there's nothing he was saying in my mind that I can really refute. And I'm trying to be objective here and being honest. So yeah, don't have anything else to say about this.